everyone, and welcome back to another riveting episode of War Infinite Pounds. I'm joined by my femme fatale, beautiful sidekick, Sarah.
Ooh.
Yep. Living the dream, and we're at the end of 2020. The nightmare is almost over. Trump's
Woohoo.
out of office. Grandpa Biden's fighting for our money, and Mitch McConnell will always be the villain of the Republican Party for every iteration. So that's out the way. Whoop whoop.
Whoop whoop. At least it's over,
Yeah,
almost.
it's over. Yeah.
Yeah, we're recording this literally on New Year's Eve. You guys will be getting it a little after that, the first Monday of January. But we wanted to make sure that we didn't send 2020 off without a good and proper recap of all the crazy shit that happened this year. In the world of comics television, and comics movies. There's plenty of other crazy shit, as Matt just gave us a very nice wrap up. But
Yeah.
that's not what the show's about. That's not what you come here for. Even though I think our last episode still got us in trouble for mentioning health things, so we're not going to talk about those.
Yeah. Just drink orange juice. That's what we got banned for. Orange juice.
Orange juice. Anyway, so we're going to first give you guys a wrap up of all the cool comics news that happened, talk about it a little bit, and then we're going to give you a very exciting new thing: our top 3 comics that we read this year and our top 3 movies and TV shows. So, Matt, what do you want to cover first that happened in 2020?
I kind of want to cover that. I think everything DC is on HBO Max now. I guess there's no point of DC Plus, that subscription, right?
Well,
Yeah.
was it DC Universe? Was that what it was called?
Yeah, this whole DC universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah, that was a bad idea from the start. I mean, once they were like, we don't have enough money to continue the only show that people liked, aka Swamp Thing, it was pretty clear that they were in trouble.
Yeah. It also has hurt that some of the shows, like the CW shows, like Supergirl, um, I almost said Static Shock for a second. I'm sorry. Arrow, my main man Flash, and Black Lightning. What was got yeah, they and so all the CW shows were on Netflix. So you had like your draws on Netflix, and then you had this plus for other shows. It was just a bad model. Either commit to one or wait until your Lord and Master Warner Brothers decide to make something new.
Yeah,
Which they did.
I mean, that's also sort of what Disney had a problem with like Marvel, where they had it spread out on Netflix and Hulu, and then they sort of truncated everything except for Hellstrom, which is still on Hulu. I don't think they have a lot of faith in that show, and that's why that's still there. But yeah, they got rid of Runaways, or they ended the run of it, and they ended all the Marvel shows on Netflix, which sucks. But whatever. You live, you learn, you cry, you die. But yeah, so all of the DC shows are now on HBO Max, which at least gives me more incentive to watch them. Because they're all sort of in one place. They also announced, as part of the whole Sony Pictures HBO Max deal, that every DC movie that's coming out in 2021 will be on the HBO Max as well, and their little streaming thing where it's available for 30 days after it initially releases in theaters, and then disappears until like a later date or some shit.
Pretty much. And since we're almost, I mean, I'm optimistic. We're towards the end of COVID. I wonder if something we're going to talk next year. Will this model still be prevalent, where there are people like, well, I'm paying roughly $15 a month, roughly, the price point.
Mm-hmm.
Will I still get access to movies, or they're just gonna say, hey, go to the theaters,
Right.
This model is pretty effective. I mean, other people started doing, Disney do it, so
Yeah, Disney did start doing it. They did it with Soul, which I actually haven't seen. I saw Wonder Woman 1984, and the less said about that, the better, I think. But I think a lot of studios are okay with it. A lot of film directors are not, and a lot of the movie theaters are obviously very unhappy. So I don't know if it's a model that'll continue in 2022. Do I think it's more fair? I think it's definitely more fair for people who can't get to a movie theater, or who have, for example, so here's something that we don't really talk about. When I say we, I mean film critics in general. Movie theaters are not super accessible. Like, you'll see these things for closed captioning devices, but as a lot of people with disabilities, or disability advocates will tell you, most times those things don't work. They're not that great. They're not super accurate. And so going to the movie theater is very much something that a lot of disabled people either can't do or choose not to do, because it's just not as good, right?
Right.
an experience. Like you're gonna spend like $20 now to go to a movie that you can't really even watch, or you're gonna watch with like subpar captioning or just this really outdated. Like a lot of movie theaters don't have updated technology. I used to work at a movie theater, and what we had was these things that you would slip. It was a mirror basically that you'd slip into your cup holder, and you would angle the mirror to catch the captions in the mirror, and you had to watch it like that.
Mm-hmm.
Which is old, and also like it wouldn't be available for every movie. Only certain movies at certain times would be closed caption, which again also sucks because that means like, oh, if you really want to see this movie but the only closed caption showing sells out because it's not exclusively for disabled people, it's, everybody can go see it. Too bad, sucks for you. So this model is more accessible to people with disabilities, and of course I'm talking about like people who are deaf and blind, but we also haven't talked about just mobility issue disabilities, right? People who have
Oh,
trouble with
yes, yes.
stairs, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, so all going full circle back to this argument, I think that this model is more accessible, not just to people who maybe don't live near movie theaters or who can't afford movie theaters, but also people for whom the movie theater experience just isn't inclusive. So I would like to see a version of it, maybe not like exactly what HBO Max is doing, and Sony, but like a version of it would be really great for people for whom going to a movie theater is just not a readily available option.
Yeah, I kind of have the feeling same way because I go to movie theaters and I don't notice people. And when I think of disabled people, able swear, I think of I don't, people deaf or wheelchair accessible, and I don't ever really see chairs or just because I go by the love of my life, Cassie, and I don't notice like seatings or anything arranged for them. So just on that level for wheelchair people, if they don't get the basic accommodations, you just describe people who need closed caption got shit out of luck.
Yep. And I mean, like, even when you go to movie theaters, like, I've noticed that, like, maybe there's 2 or 3 spots for wheelchair spaces.
Yeah.
And, like, I've also seen people take up those chairs next to wheelchair spaces, which are there for people who are going with a wheelchair person, whether that's their aide or a family member, a loved one, a friend, so that they can sit together. And so I've seen people take up those spots, and it's like, that's a dick move. Like, there's only 3 seats in this like 150 seat theater for a disabled person and their person, and you've taken those away. Ultimately, it does provide a big problem. So that's why I think. I mean, I understand why directors and like people who work in movies don't like it. Like it cheapens, it quote unquote cheapens what they do, and the movie theater system is super important, and like it's a good form of entertainment, but like it really is doing a disservice to certain populations. And so I really think that like I wish the conversation was, instead of, well, it's not fair that you're not giving these to movie theaters, or that you're simul releasing that take away revenue from movie theaters. It's like, how can a movie theater make it a better experience for all audiences and make it more accessible and make it more worth the money that you put down? Because I'll tell you, I remember a deaf YouTuber who tried to go see the same movie 3 times, and it's like a $20 movie, and the closed captioning wasn't working, and all they would do is say like, oh, well, we'll try and fix it, you can try again next week, here's a free voucher. Like, she doesn't want a free voucher, she wants to see the movie. You say you have closed captioning, and then I don't. It was a whole thing. Like, I'm gonna get real fired up. This is gonna be the whole episode if we're not careful.
No. And no. And I actually feel this in a very like way. It makes me super upset because we are um we are thinking of this as an economic issue, and we never think movie theaters as an accessibility issue for everybody, because everyone thinks movies just it's a part of American culture, going to the cinema, etc. It's a part, but we never think of it as, there's a section of people who just never really see movies or go out. They lose an entire medium. I mean, I think sometime, last episode we discussed about there's a whole section of people who just can't see Broadway films, right? Broadway theater.
Yeah.
So imagine that. I mean, we just apply it to theaters, like it's the same thing, because everyone's talking oh, it's about the money. They're gonna go broke, this and that. It's like, what about if you had more accessibility, you get more money?
Yeah.
We're capitalists, aren't we?
Yeah, exactly. But it's its own thing there. I'm sure there are reasons why I'm sure there are economic reasons basically why movie theaters don't. Yeah. But so I'm hoping that that it does become an option. Whether it becomes after 2 weeks of being in theaters, it shows up on the streaming service for a 2 week run and then is gone again, like whatever, that would be fine. But again, it would grant people who, for whatever reason it may be, either can't afford it or movie theaters just don't work for them or they don't have anything near them, um, gives them the opportunity to see the movie and still be part of the cultural conversation without having to jump through a shit ton of like hoops. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see.
That'd be interesting. And in my personal opinion, for the sake of competition or whatever, like this is our create new movie theaters, new pricing points. It'll be like this. I think that the streaming service versus the theaters is going to be something that's going to be very prevalent in future going forward. It depends what will the people who make the movies value their price points. I think we saw a couple articles, well, it's a little tangent, about like directors are upset about the pricing points they get by putting in movies direct digital, et cetera, versus putting it theaters. And I'm like, that's a whole, that's going to be 2021, 2021's problem going forward. We're still in 2020.
Yeah. Don't think about it too much. And it's interesting also because like Wonder Woman 1984 must have done well enough financially, however they want to monetize it. It must have done well financially enough because a third movie with Patty Jenkins as director has already been greenlit to go. So, it can't be that bad. And while I get that, like a lot, especially because a lot of movie directors are movie nerds, and they want the movie theater system to continue. It's just like, it's great that you want to make sure that like people see the movie the way that you wanted it to be seen. At the same time, there's already a population of people who can't and who won't and who don't. So, just something to think about, just something to put out there into the narrative.
Yeah. It's something you shouldn't, won't, or don't see. Snyder cut of Justice League. I mean, I predicted it months ago. It's out there for HBO Max, but if you've seen the original and you've seen this, there's not much that actually enhances the movie. I'm glad for people who are hardcore and drinking the Snyder Kool-Aid, love it. That's great for you, but that Kool-Aid's poison, but whatever. It's not honestly, from a watching standpoint, it's not much difference between the Snyder cut and the original movies, particularly for Justice League. It's just like they change, the graphics for the enemies. There's some quality of life changes, but not much has changed the story whatsoever. It isn't there are some little nuggets in there. It's not enough. I don't consider it worth the warrant of it. But thank you, social media, for pushing this on me and pushing on everybody else to see it. So you got your 5 extra minutes of Ben Affleck staring into the camera.
I mean, listen, I think also given how much shit has come out about how bad Joss Whedon was to like essentially all the actors, because Gal Gadot was like, oh, hey, yeah, no, he pulled some shit with me, but I told the studio and the studio cut that shit out. Because it's Gal Gadot, and like, what are you gonna do? Like, you're gonna piss her off? Like, she's like basically she's the queen of the DC universe right now. Like, she is their meal ticket. So to anybody doing well with anything. So yeah. But all the other actors sort of more or less have come out, except I think for like Ben Affleck, because Ben Affleck's not gonna say shit. And have sort of been like, yeah, there were some problems on set. Joss is an asshole. Like, no one is surprised.
No. The sad part about it, I think we discussed this months ago in one of our earlier episodes, and we found that Joss Whedon was a horrible person to his wife.
Yep.
And it's hard to believe that, again, people may not notice, this guy did create a Buffy. He's like one of the forefathers of like creating strong female characters. Yep. But he's kind of a jerk off. And to him, the reason why he's able to do it out of talent, he says it's a fantasy, so it's not real to him. Of course he could write because it's not real to him. Therefore, his, much like a famous turf writer, just because you're able to create fantasy doesn't reflect who you are as a person. Just saying.
Surprise, surprise, yes. We got to bring J.K. Rowling back because, again, queen of disappointments. Like, oh, good, great. Thank you for creating this beautiful, wonderful, interesting world, and then you shit all over it by being an exclusionary, hateful, false information spreading buttface. Okay, thank you so much. Please return to your millions and don't talk to us anymore. Speaking of, by the way, of things that are happening in the Harry Potter universe that are not J.K. Rowling's horrible and potentially harm-causing opinions, Johnny Depp was pulled from Fantastic Beasts, he played Grindelwald, who was like an evil wizard. And nobody really liked him in the role in the first place. So let me just put that out front. I remember seeing the first one and then being like, "What? Colin Farrell's not going to be Grindelwald? It's Johnny Depp in a bad wig and like a messed up eye." Okay, yeah, no, that's not a good choice at all. And then they made the second movie and didn't improve, and it came out. There was a whole thing, and I don't think we have the brain power or really the time to go through all the shit that happened between his wife Amber Heard and him. Let's just say punches were thrown on both sides, literally. Both of them were abusive and awful to each other, potentially to other people, and basically the Sun, which is a newspaper or a print. I don't know if we can call it technically a newspaper. I've heard it's kind of tabloidy, so like we'll call it a tabloid. A tabloid called the Sun basically referred to Johnny Depp as a wife beater, and Johnny Depp was upset, did a libel lawsuit against them, lost that lawsuit, and then afterwards he was fired from Fantastic Beasts, and Mads Mikkelsen was cast in his place. So, yeah, that's what happened in 2020.
Base Hannibal, guys. But my take of the whole situation of the Johnny Depp is that do I agree the punishment for him was kind of, but at the same time he had a reputation for this. Even if it wasn't the fact that he is physically abusive, he had a reputation of being high out of his mind. He had a reputation of being irritable and unstable at times. So in some instances, his reputation of being a somewhat unstable, borderline dangerous person and then rationing out violence is kind of a path he was maybe going down. So
yeah,
I'm sorry, he had a tendency for this.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to. Yeah,
he was also show up to sets late. He would just, cost productions like hundreds of thousands, if not almost millions of dollars for no reason than like, his ego. And so I really think that it's going to be fine. Like, and also people are like, "Oh, we've banned Johnny Depp from Hollywood." And I'm like, we banned Mel Gibson and he's back already. So like, let's not beat around the bush. He's going to be fine. Johnny Depp is going to be fine. He will get movies.
Sit out. He still gets money for his movie. He still gets royalty for his movies when they play. He's done a lot of movies.
So much. Freaking Pirates of the Caribbean, which is basically his money market now for forever. His sacred cash cow. So I'm not really worried about Johnny Depp. There were questions about whether Amber Heard would be removed from Aquaman. Personally, I think she should, if only because she wasn't even that good in Aquaman anyway. Like as Mera. But, I do think that like if we are going to take a stand against abusive partners and domestic violence, if he's out, she should also be out, just as a reminder that men can be abused in these relationships as well. But understanding all of that, it's probably not going to happen because she's too small time. And whatever, they might cut Mera out of the movie rather than outright fire her, but we will see what happens in Aquaman 2.
Pretty much. And speaking of sequels of things to happen, what's the future? What's the future of Umbrella Academy going on? I mean, we noticed that I don't want to be rude. I don't say a term. The former Ellen Page is now transitioned to Elliot Page. So, what does that mean for Umbrella Academy?
Well, Umbrella Academy, before Elliot came out, was greenlit for season 3, mostly because it's actually a really great adaptation. The comic is a little wonkadoodle. I don't know if anybody's ever read the comic, but it's a little strange. And the show really manages to make a coherent narrative out of it, so it's been super popular. There were questions that came forth about whether, now that Elliot Page is living as he, they, will he continue to play Vanya Hargreaves, who is a cisgendered female, which other people have made the very good point that you see cisgendered people play trans people all the time, and really it shouldn't be. It's not a big deal. If one works, the other works as well. And I think Netflix has basically put up the stance that if Elliot Page is still cool with playing this character, then we'll let him continue to play the character. If he's not, then we'll find a replacement. And thus far, Elliot hasn't said anything about not reprising his role as Vanya. So he will continue to do so.
Interesting. And Elliot came out recently. Obviously, not to dig into someone's personal life or whatever. I've only heard that he decided to come out. I don't know how far the train of transition he is going through. All I heard was the announcement. So there is a possibility for a medical reason not to reprise the role because transitioning does affect your ability to act and move, etc. So if
Right.
it affects him medically, I would advise. I mean, I respect you as a great actor. Please don't do the role if it affects you medically. That's my take.
Yeah. And also, emotionally, like I understand that, like, well, to be fair, Vanya Hargreaves already dresses very masculinely, so it's not as
Yeah.
if they're going to put the character in a dress. And so I don't believe that it would be dysphoric for him to continue to play that character. Like, he wouldn't need to don anything particularly feminine, or that really isn't already a fit for Elliot Page's wardrobe even before announcing the transition, or announcing, you know, his identity essentially.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to be dysphoric for him to continue playing the role. But I mean, again, as you said, like it's like, is he going to be physically and mentally okay doing this? If he is, there really isn't a reason at this point in time for him not to continue. Um, and I frankly can't imagine. I haven't seen any fans saying, "Oh, he should go," because he no
No,
longer
no,
identifies as a woman. So
no. I picture a bunch of broad reactionaries to talk about it like they're fans, and they probably don't read the comments to talk about. That's the only thing I picture. But
yeah,
screw those people.
I mean,
And
knowing Gerard Way, he would be fine with it. He'd be like, "So make Vanya trans. Like, what do I care?"
exactly, yeah. Gerard Way is always been on top of the cool stuff. Speaking of being on top of the cool stuff, um, Batwoman been recast as a LGBT black person, so that's kind of cool.
Yes, so there was a lot of uproar when earlier this year Ruby Rose announced that she was leaving. Um, it it basically seemed to boil down to a bad relationship between her and the crew, and her just not really being used to the world of television action production. It's a lot of long hours, it's a lot of being in one place. Ruby Rose really sort of has transitioned into more movie things, and it's a very different world. TV often is much more arduous a process. There's a lot, you have to learn things a lot faster, and she just wasn't jiving well. There were issues between her and the crew, and it ultimately proved to be a bad mix. And so ultimately, I'm glad that she chose to leave, rather than sort of suffer through another season. Because the sooner you make that swap, the better. So I'm glad this wasn't like some sort of like midway have to figure it out, or like into season 3. I think it's a switch for season 2. But yeah, a lot of fans were upset. Not because it's a black woman, but because they're like, why? And it's just like, well, she didn't want to be there anymore. So like, be mad at Ruby Rose, don't be mad at DC.
Yeah, as well as like, I'm more upset with the management. What happened? I have nothing against Miss Rose. I have nothing against her complaints of the show or the feedback the fans gave her. Which again, it's criticism, regardless how you feel about it, some aspects. But it's like it was a bad fit across the board. You really should blame management for putting her in a position. They gave her a role. They didn't manage it properly. She was not used to working long hours. She got hurt in one of the stunts, as I recall.
Oh, that's right.
I don't think this was good.
She did have a major injury that sort of like knocked her through a loop.
Yeah, so this was just bad. It was honestly a tale of bad management. It's not the performer's fault for this happening. I generally blame manager for it. I mean, her reaction to criticism wasn't nice, but I mostly blame management more than her reacting to criticism because they put her in position to react badly. That's just my take.
Mm-hmm. And so we have the new Batwoman. I'm afraid I do not remember her name, but I'm gonna go find it. And she'll be taking over. She's not Cassandra Cain. She is a different. She's a different character altogether, which is pretty cool. I think they were smart. Like, if they had been like, oh, we're gonna swap her out, and just be like, Cain is now black. We're not going to address it. It would be a little strange. So it's Javicia Leslie. I hope I said that right. Javicia. And she plays Ryan Wilder, who is the new Batwoman, and her episodes will air in early 2021. The first one is set to come out on January 17th. So we will have to see. The first episode is called Whatever Happened to Kate Kane. So there will be a little bit of a mystery around what happened to the Ruby Rose character. But ultimately, I think, if you're gonna make a big change, like, go for the big change. Like, don't cast someone who kind of looks like Ruby Rose. don't try to like explain away with like magic, why all of a sudden she looks different. So yeah, so that to me was a really smart move on their part. I'm excited to see how Ms. Leslie does in the new role. I know a lot of fans are upset and pissed off about it, but at the same time, Ruby Rose wasn't coming back. She just wasn't coming back, and that's what you got to deal with at the end of the day.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about it to me, I'm just happy to see another woman of color, person of color in general on DC television, because Static Shock has a all black lead. And it's like, Static Shock. We'll talk about that later. Black Lightning.
You really want to talk about Static Shock?
I'm so happy that it's on track. But Black Lightning has an all black lead. It's successful. There are black characters within the Flash universe and Arrow. It's nice to see that 2 out of the 5 shows have person of color leads. So I'm like, high five, we all did it, boys. Gang Gang Squad. Think of Gang Gang Squad, Static Shock boys. Slipping.
Getting that movie. So exciting. Michael B. Jordan.
I know. I can't believe you got him. Like, oh man,
yeah, I don't.
Is he gonna say, "Is this your movie?"
It's your movie. Yeah, he's not playing Static Shock. I don't think that wasn't announced. I believe he's just directing it or producing it or both. He could be doing both. It'd be interesting because Michael B. Jordan's a massive nerd. Like he loves Naruto. He loves Genlock. I'm like, dude.
Plays Marvel vs. Capcom 3. He's about that life.
He is about that nerd. He and Carl Urban, man, are just super massive nerds. Yeah, he's just producing it. It says he's going to produce it. He might have a role in the movie. I would be a little weirded out if he played Virgil Hawkins, aka Static Shock, because he's just a wee bit old for that now. Like I wouldn't mind him playing like the father or a
playing
villain.
Virgil's dad. That'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah, like I'd be cool with that. Because he plays the dad in Raising Dion, so like you might as well, right? Like one black superhero father, another black superhero father, or he could play a villain again, like Kilgrave, or he could, like a mentor kind of person. I mean, like I'm just saying, like he's a little young to play like 16-year-old Virgil Hawkins, like awkward, gawky teenager who gets lightning powers.
I would actually laugh at him, like grown man Michael B. Jordan playing 16-year-old Virgil Hawkins.
It would be hilarious. I don't know who they'll get to play everybody. I mean, obviously no cast has been announced yet, and I don't even think it's been even hinted as to when they might be. They might even be coming out. I would assume 2022. That would be my number one. But it'll be interesting. And also apparently at the same time they're also working on a Batgirl movie, the one that Joss Whedon said that he couldn't write, which is hilarious.
Yeah. I mean,
he's like, I just have no good ideas. And then they immediately got Christina Hodson, aka the woman who wrote the really popular Bumblebee movie, nice. Transformers, not just like a random B movie, to do which is hilarious. It's just like, I can't do it. Bring a woman in. I got this.
Means, I couldn't do it because I wanted a higher check cut. That's what he really means. I want it. Like, you're overestimating yourself, okay? You're kind of a rampant sexist. And you're writing a female movie. I don't think we should pay you more money.
Yeah, no, please don't. No, he was not a good pick. But yeah, so Static Shock, I think it's just called Static. I'm not 100%. But either way, we're getting that movie probably in 2022 since no cast has been announced yet. That means that like they're probably, if anything, maybe just starting pre-production now. So we can't look forward to that in 2021, but we hope to get more news about it soon.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. I think my personal take will probably be they'll probably start talking about it next year, release in 2022 or even 2023. By that time, my personal tangent, DC, because they changed management. Oh, great year for 2020. Dan Didio's gone. Dab for all you Dan Didio lovers. Dab, you guys suck. Dab. So that means that is a possibility, and we talked about it in other episodes. Please check out our archive. We have great episodes. Yeah. The DC new manager wants to bring back Studio M, the Mverse, to bring back all the great heroes and comics at the time, which is Static Shock was one of them. So it'll be a great time for people to read classic Static Shock, which is very comparable to the TV show. There are minor differences. The difference is that Richie wasn't the best friend. It was really the Caucasian female girl. I forgot her name. I've read the book in years,
Mm.
and and the book has a lot more dense when it comes to a little more social topics. When it comes to Black people stuff, which is good, always good stuff.
Mm.
So I want people to have access to the comic because it was one of my favorite comics growing up in the '90s, and the TV show was phenomenal. So it's going to be a great fix. If the advertising the movie, you get the classic comics, and then the movie comes out, boom, it would be like Black Panther but with Static Shock, you know?
Right, absolutely. So I'm looking forward to it. The other thing I'm looking forward to in 2021, potentially 2022, I think it's 2022 now, the way that they moved it. God only knows the Disney schedule has moved all over the place, is Spider-Man 3. The Tom Holland universe one. Obviously, like Into the Spider-Verse isn't coming out until 2022, and Eternal Cry. But while we're waiting on that, we've got Spider-Man 3. Now, we do know that Jamie Foxx will be coming back as Electro, which is interesting because he was in the Andrew Garfield run, the Sony only run of the reboot films. So the fact that he's coming back is interesting. There has also been, and Matt, I'm sure you've heard these rumors as well. There's also been speculation that Tobey Maguire, who was in the Raimi run of the movies, and Andrew Garfield, who we just talked about, will be coming back and making cameos in this movie as well. Now, that could mean we're getting a multiverse movie. I mean, given the fact that, like, Into the Spider-Verse was so popular and people liked it so much. And also, we've got Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. It would make sense to have a multiverse movie. And I like the little wink, wink, nudge, nudge of like, yes, we know we've made too many of these movies. And they were all too close together, so all of the actors are still alive. So it'll be interesting to see if the rumor's true. We actually don't know if the rumor's true. So nobody hold me to that, okay? Because I don't want to be murdered.
I think it'd be cool just to see them. It'd be nice. Still not just be great because this will probably be in a long time. Oh, hey, we got a good Spider-Man movie going on here. Nothing
Yeah.
bad's happening. Got no controversy. No, oh my God, what did you do to my baby? Kind of situation. Nope, this is all turning out Millhouse. This is all turning out good.
It's all turning out Millhouse.
House.
It'll be also interesting to see if they pull in, and this to me would be hilarious. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think Disney would let it. But the two Eddie Brocks, so like Eddie Brock from the Raimi and Eddie Brock from Venom.
Yeah, that was Tom Hardy. Yeah,
I would love that so much. I don't remember. I don't remember who did it in the Raimi. I mean, I can see his face, the one who did it in the Raimi. I don't remember his name, but that would be hilarious. I would love that so much. I think it would be like just a gas to watch them. I would want to see what the Tom Hardy Venom do the turd in the wind monologue and have the other one be like, seriously? Is that the best you got?
Oh man, I'm just seeing this. I can't. I'll probably send it to you later, but there's a funny meme about Tom Hardy, made by the guy Brad Neely, where the Hardy's at. Like how it's hilarious.
Oh man.
Please, yeah, I'll send it to you. But I would be so happy if they Tom Hardy. You could see Tom Hardy again. I love Tom Hardy.
Yeah. Great. So, that would be amazing. So yeah, so that would be fun. We don't know what that's going to be. We don't even have a subtitle yet. The other ones were Homecoming, Far From Home. I'm guessing it's going to have something to do with home again. It'll be interesting to see where Disney and Sony decide to take it, who they're bringing back, and why. And again, I feel like a lot of the phase, what is this, phase 4? Phase 5? What phase are we on for the Marvel movies?
I actually, oh God, I have to look it up. I want to say maybe it's post phase 4.
This has to be phase 4. This has to be phase 4. Either way, so I feel like a lot of the phase 4 movies are going to be around multiverse theory, starting off with WandaVision having her weird House of M moment, and then going on to Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, opening up that, and then Thor Love and Thunder probably playing into that as well, and then this new Spider-Man would also, I mean, and you have to admit, there is no more classic a comic move than being like, ooh, the multiverse.
No, exactly. And it kind of works pretty well because if you're a comic person, Marvel has technically just skipped Silver Age, done majority of Modern Age. Now they're kind of up to part where they're up to where the modern comics are kind of doing right now. There's a little hit, kiss tongue and cheek little stuff extra. So they're up to the part of there's a possibility we can get Miss Marvel. There's a possibility we can get Squirrel Girl, Queen of the Heroes.
Yep. Beat
So
Galactus single-handed.
Yeah, hard body, 5 stars.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And I think it's pretty cool that they're doing that. It's like they had a plan and they stuck to it, unlike some other company.
It's almost like a thing that DC should do.
Yeah, stick to your plans and stop hiring people who make bad movies 3 times.
Yeah. God bless. God bless. I'm sure Zack Snyder is a very lovely human being, but please stop.
Please stop. It's been 3 times is enough. That's the way I leave it. It's enough.
You did it, Zach. It's okay. You can go to sleep now. And then speaking of Disney, we've got everything. So Disney basically, to make sure that their investors wouldn't all leave them, released every single thing that they're going to be putting out in the next 2 years, 3 years, I think, for some. Obviously, we've got things like WandaVision, which is coming out in just a few short days when this episode releases. And then Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Even though technically Falcon is the new Captain America, I don't know what that's going to entail per se, but Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and then you've got Loki rounding out the year, and then we've also got Ms. Marvel, Captain Marvel 2, Shang-Chi and the Seven Rings.
Yeah.
We also got news of Black Panther 2, which will not have Chadwick Boseman in it, and they are not replacing the Black Panther character yet, or at least they're not replacing T'Challa, the character. I'm sure somebody else will have to eventually pick up the mantle of Black Panther. Who that's going to be, I don't know. Could be Shuri, could be any number of people. I would be so hella down for any of them, really. So there's that. I'm trying to think of what other things. A lot of Disney properties. They made Moon Knight, She-Hulk.
Yeah.
The Marvel What If, Marvel Visions, the Baby Groot show, or not the Baby Groot show, it's just the Groot show, the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. I don't know how I kept all of these straight in my brain because they're so freaking. Ant-Man and the Wasp 3, which frankly, I'm still surprised they're making a third movie for that. It's Marvel's weakest franchise. I don't think anybody would be sad if it went away. Tell me if I'm wrong. Seriously, come at me on Twitter.
I enjoy those movies, but because we all listen, by saying no, you're hurting Paul Rudd. We all love Paul Rudd. That's how he's doing his job.
Paul Rudd doesn't need us. Paul Rudd can find his own work. He's like a movie star. Evangeline Lilly, you can maybe make that argument for. She doesn't get cast in many things anymore, which is a shame. She's a good actress, but yeah, I do not need. So that's a thing. But anyway. So yeah, all of that is coming out within the next 2 to 3 years and of course, again, as we talked about, Spider-Man 3 at some point is coming. And and this is on top of, all of these Star Wars things that are coming out. The Ahsoka show, more Mandalorian, Boba Fett, Bad Batch, the new movie from Taika Waititi. There's the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. Disney just they were well, we've got nothing else to do for the rest of this year, so let's just shoot our shot and highlight every single thing.
Let everyone know we got this.
Yeah.
I feel though it's do you have to tell us? Yes, we want everyone to know we're making stuff. Please don't forget us. But Jesus, the amount of content.
I know, it's too much. And also some of them are questionable, on the Disney side of things, the Buzz Lightyear prequel based on thing. Let Toy Story die, please, for the love of God. We don't need more Toy Story. And then the Red Panda movie, which I'm that's a cringe right there.
Yeah. I hope they can that. Though Toy Story to me is well, do I love my childhood that much I need 5 movies? Or you look around to yourself, or am I really just milking what I got going on? Do I really want Woody Allen to get more work?
Wait, I was you mean Tim Allen?
Sorry, Tim Allen. Yeah, Tim.
Well, this is only about Buzz Lightyear, so it would just be Wait, does Tim Allen do Buzz Lightyear?
Is it Tom Hanks or Patrick Warburton's? One of those guys. They have the same voice.
They do not have the same voice. I disagree wholeheartedly. I think... Shit. Okay, maybe you were right. Maybe it is Tim Allen. I think Tom Hanks plays Woody. I'm so confused. Oh God, we're gonna get yelled at in the comments. People are gonna come for us on Twitter. How do you not know who plays Buzz Lightyear? I'm gonna be well, you know what? I don't, because I'm dumb.
This is a fair, honest. There are 4 Toy Story movies. We forgot all of them at this point. That's how much we if it was less movies, we remember.
It's Tim Allen. Okay, it's Tim Allen.
Oh, it was Tim. All right.
And Patrick Warburton, oh my God, you're right. He played him on the TV show. Oh my God. Okay, you know what? I acquiesce. You are 100% correct. Holy crap. Yeah. Wow. I am Boo Boo the Fool. I am so sorry.
Because I know I heard his voice. Someone like, TV shows he playing the movie? No, it's just, but who is it on the, who is him on the movies? Is it
Tim Allen? You're right.
Tim Allen, yeah.
You're right. You were right on all accounts. I mean, except for calling him Woody Allen, but yes, you were right on all accounts.
Woody Allen should never be near movie theaters or people.
No, yeah, Woody Allen can just go away right now. Oh my goodness. There's so much news, but that I think that sort of covers the big spread of all of the things, if I'm not mistaken. Unless you've got something else on your plate, Matt.
No, I think that covers every Disney, Marvel. No, that's everything. Unless we want to talk about what's the best part of 2020, right?
The best part of 2020 is that it's over.
It's over, yeah. Well, while you're waiting for 2020 to be over, why don't we recommend some things we really enjoyed from 2020, from comics or TV shows to watch movies, you know? Just a small list. Well, just 3.
Three each, you know? Comics and TV movies. Because, like, God only knows the first half of 2021 is already a little bit of a shit show. So you might as well take our recommendations from this year and bring it on over to 2021. So, Matt, why don't you hit us first with your 3 comics that you read this year and you enjoyed?
So 3 comics I read this year I really enjoyed are, well, one of them is a webcomic, so I'll recommend Lore Olympus. Just Google it on Webtoons. It's a phenomenal series of a modern take of Greek mythology. It's phenomenal. 5 stars. I recommend it. The second season, maybe I don't think it's finished, but I kind of halfway through the first season. I love that. Loved it. What else I would recommend to people? I would also recommend man, trying to think of another comic.
I know there's so much that you read in the year.
There's so much I read in the year, yeah. Man, I really can't think of another. You know what? I'll go for another webcomic I read because I can't think of I'll probably come to another comic by the end of the term. But another webcomic I would recommend reading is who is this guy who wrote this book? It's also on Webtoons. I think of it. I was reading it like crazy, then I just stopped because my life went to crap.
Whose didn't?
Whose didn't? Oh yeah, I recommend if you're into more of a slice of life kind of low key comedy. I recommend Toaster Dude. It's about a guy who just wants some bread, literally. Wears a toaster helmet, becomes a hero of a city, and just weird things happen.
Interesting.
Yeah. And the final comic I recommend, because I just kickstarted it, by Lynn Smith. Sorry if I butchered your name. And just confirm it again because she just sent me an email saying the book is in the thing, and I'm like, oh boy, I feel like a horrible person.
How dare you?
How dare you? For goodness sake.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's a pretty good webcomic.
What's it about?
It's not webcomic. Yeah, actually, so it's about a guy who's a demon. Well, got cursed to be a demon. He's hanging out with this random hippie girl. He's trying to be a right person, not giving to his bad anger side, and it alludes to what got him to this situation. And this girl who's kind of a hippie, kind of moving away from life. It's kind of a very nice journey of 2 people of self-discovery and a couple occasional high snarky jokes. If you like snarky jokes, that's the way to go.
I love it. I do love.
It's been kickstarted. We'll put a link into the our internet stuff, so you can check out her books and get the book, because I'm assuming she'll have volume 3 on Kickstarter soon. I got the first 2 volumes. She's selling on our website, so
nice.
Yeah. And I guess, and that's my 3 right there. We'll talk about TV next. So what are your 3 books?
Oh boy. All right. So for me, I ended up going with some non-standard picks as well. The first one that I read, I sort of just picked up one day at a bookstore on the whim because I thought the cover looked cool. And it's Blackbird by Sam Humphries and Jen Bartel. It's basically about a woman who lives in LA who basically wants to do magic and sort of ends up in the middle of these these magical clan brawls, and the art is just gorgeous. Like, for me, the story is great. I love neo-noir fantasy. I love magic. I love all that kind of stuff. But for me, what really cinched it was the art. The art is gorgeous. The colors are bright and neon. The world is just so amazing to look at. There hasn't been any more issues after issue 6, and all that is in volume 1. I don't know why per se. I'm sure somebody out there listening knows why. But it makes me sad. I want more. So Sam Humphries, Jen Bartel, whoever it is at Image Comics who runs this one, if you could make that happen, you'd make me very happy. I know that like it's not at the forefront of your mind or whatever, even though it should be because my tastes are impeccable. But if you could do that, that would be totally amazing. The other one that I really liked this year was actually one I mentioned last episode, but you know what? I'm going to mention it again because I'm still obsessed. Is Check Please by Ngozi Ukazu. Ngozi Ukazu. She wrote basically this really cute love story between 2 hockey players in college. It is adorable. It is just, and it's done. It's got 2 volumes and that's it. So you can blast through it in a weekend. And it just is such a beautiful, and she drew and wrote it, which to me is so impressive, that you would have the ability to draw and write this amazing story. And honestly, it just made me happy. Like, in a year so full of shit, it just really made me enjoy it, and like really filled my heart with like good feelings instead of crying about how I'm not going to get enough money, or like will we all survive till 2022? Who knows? So that
the worst case scenario is what I've been praying in my real life. Why is everyone so goddamn stupid? Why is this happening to me?
I know. Just deep breaths. But if you are also like me and you are secretly just a wee bit goth and a wee bit morbid, and you really like the spoopy shit, which I love me some spoopy shit, I highly recommend this last one. It's called Fangs. It's by Sarah Anderson. You probably know her from Sarah Scribbles, which is a webcomic. Fangs was also a webcomic. It was on Top Us, but it's in a book, a beautifully put together book. And it's so nice. It's basically about the love story between a vampire and a werewolf. They're in shorts. It's not particularly long or narrative driven per se. I mean, it does have a beginning and an end. It's lovely. It's the style is just great. It's a little different than what she's usually known for. I definitely recommend picking it up if you are like me and you are a tiny wee baby goth and your heart is filled with darkness at all times.
Wow. Sounds like you're ready to recommend Sabrina season 4.
No, but that's for a different story. You go forth.
Sure. So the TV shows I recommend are this is based off a comic. It's also a graphic novel series in England. Hilda season 2 is finally out on Netflix. Waited so long for it, but please check out Hilda. It's a beautiful slice of life television show about a girl who used to live in the woods with her mother, now lives in the city, and there's a lot of magical nuance that's going on, as well as little lessons of it's bad to lie to your parents, or how weird this magical world works. It's kind of cool. It tells a story in a very encompassing way where every bit's important. It doesn't kind of overshadow each other. It's a really good series. I recommend that. That's one show I really did love. Another show I did like besides Umbrella Academy. It's really good. Please check it out. Come on. Yes. Umbrella Academy. Yeah, seriously, just check it out. We talk about it too much.
We talk about it all the time. We love it.
Yeah, we love it. And get the comic if you want, but just watch the show. And I also kind of recommend I recommend every DC CW show, but I wouldn't want to because Arrow's over, and I don't want people watching the Arrow. The Arrow just hurts.
Yeah.
But I would recommend this. I didn't finish watching Dion, Raising Dion. I didn't finish it, so I can't really recommend it. But I will watch
it anyway.
Watch Raising Dion. I didn't finish the last 3 episodes because of work, but it was pretty phenomenal up to that point and amazing. I think the cast is well done. The writing is spectacular, and it feels very nuanced, very different type of super. It's not deconstructionist, but it's just enough. It adds a lot of realm of realism in it, and I think that's really cool.
Nice, very cool. So I sort of am a little bit all over the place as usual. My TV habits are strange. The first one I'm going to recommend for you guys is Netflix's The Queen's Gambit. Just a phenomenal show. Everybody now is like playing chess. They're like, I'm gonna learn how to play chess. I'm like, okay, good luck to you. Chess is really hard. I was actually on in chess team in elementary school, and I learned nothing. And I was really bad at chess and will remain bad at chess. But it's a fascinating portrayal of a female chess champion. And it's Anya Taylor-Joy, who, if you saw New Mutants, you were like, oh no, honey, oh no, like you did so bad. But that's because the script was bad, and I do not hold it against her at all, because this show proves that she is a fantastic actress. It's a beautifully made show. Like, every scene is gorgeous. The story is great. And again, it's a little schmaltzy at the end, a little predictable, but highly recommend. Fantastic show, just really gripping. The other show that I'm going to recommend is Hunters, which was on Amazon, which is about a group of Nazi hunters in the 60s who basically like look for Nazis in hiding. They come from different backgrounds, and there is a twist ending that will make you feel like your head has been spun around 180 degrees and you don't super know what to do with it. You might love the ending, you might hate the ending. I think the build up to it, and I think the way that certain scenes and certain concepts are portrayed on the show are really beautiful. That to me is so important. So definitely, if you're looking for like a gory, action-packed, but also it's sometimes comedic movie, TV show, definitely pick up Hunters. The last one I'm going to recommend is basically because I loved the book so much, and while the TV show does have some problems, that I would like to one day sort of maybe dive in depth into, I'm going to go ahead and still recommend it anyway. It's Lovecraft Country on HBO. It is based on the book by Matt Ruff. It is about several African-American characters, all of whom are either related to each other or friends with each other, in a small community who basically have to deal with Lovecraftian nightmares and also racism in the Jim Crow South. It's just a fantastic show. In terms of like the costuming, the design, the action, the CGI, all of it is great. There are some issues I have with what they changed from the book. Like, for example, they made the evil ghost character Jewish for no reason, and I was like, that doesn't, like, you didn't have to do that. Like, this, like, we are pointing specifically at the Christian South of the 1950s and early 60s. Like, we had our target. You didn't have to bring anti-Semitism into this for no reason.
Oi, that is a very bad oi. Like, oi. Oh.
I was like, that's not, like, my friends asked me, like, is that in the book? And I'm like, it's not in the book. In the book, it's like a white dude. It's like a general white dude. So yeah, that's a thing. And little things here and there where you're like, why? You didn't have to change that. There was no reason to change it. I have very strong feelings about how there was no reason to change certain things that they changed anyway. But all of that being said, it's still fantastic. The actors are amazing. These are performances you are going to want to watch. And just the fact that like somebody gave a black horror show a real fighting chance and real money behind it too. To me, it's just important because we really don't see a lot of diversity in horror in terms of who our main characters are. I mean, we're doing it more now, especially in literature. It hasn't quite made it to the screen yet, but I really enjoyed it. I think it's really great. I definitely highly recommend.
I'm just kind of disgusted. Like, it sounds cool, but just like, so are we? This is a tangent. Are we so white fragility that a white guy and a villain in a black TV show is a bad thing, even though it's based off a time period where white people were not really good guys?
I mean, here's sort of where I'm thinking maybe they went with it, because the rest of the bad guys are clearly like wasps, right? Like,
yeah,
white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. This villain only really shows up for one episode, and it is based on like the story in the book, in which there is basically an old crotchety man who haunts a house. This black woman was into the house. He doesn't want her to live in the house, so on and so forth. And there's stuff about it in there, but I wonder if the reason why they did that was to highlight that communities that are oppressed don't always stand together. So there's always been a lot of tension between the Jewish community and the black community, especially in certain places that are urban, like in New York. Now, could they have done that with more subtlety? They could have. Is that what they were going for? I don't know. I would be remiss to say that that's absolutely what they're going for, and that we shouldn't judge them for what they did, because we should still judge them for what they did. They made a creative choice that was not in the book. I don't understand the logic behind it. I would love to hear somebody talk about it, and maybe they have. I just haven't looked into it. Um, but it was a very strange. It was a very strange change, and detracted a little bit from the show for me and for a lot of Jewish viewers. Now, some people watched it, didn't even notice, because again, like, whatever. And it wasn't like, he had like a yarmulke on and like was reading from the Torah explicitly. It's just that his name is now a decidedly Jewish name. Um, but at the same time, it's like, you made a creative decision. I would like to know what the reasoning was, why you would change that from the book. And it has no bearing because he never comes back in any other episode. It's very strange. It's a very strange creative choice. I don't know why they made it. I don't know who's responsible for making it. And it would be very interesting to understand what the thought process was. If it is because they wanted to make a point about how communities that are oppressed do not always stand together, and that there is like racism to be had in between, or prejudice to be had in between communities of color / communities that are non-white Christian, then fine. But like, they didn't make that point particularly well.
No, just, it's like they try to, like, this is me, I'm not just the writers creators. It's like, okay, we know all our villains are essentially wasps or white people. Let's just have some diversity. Wait, add a Jewish person there. Whoa, buddy, wouldn't that be bad?
Again, there's the difference between, I made a change from the book and it's an inconsequential change and it doesn't add or take away anything, and I made a change to a character, and now this is going to have some sort of ramification on how people see the show. If they had just changed his name from like Smith to Green, like, nobody would have noticed and nobody would have cared, because it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Again, I would just want to know, like, what, like, who made this change and for what reason. There was a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? There was a lot of, there was a lot of backlash about it, and I don't know why. Like, why they made that change. I don't think they ever came out and said anything. And the rest of the show is excellent, and like, you should still absolutely watch the show. I would just be remiss to not say that like, they made this creative choice. It was a little bizarre. And if that's something that you're particularly sensitive to, like, let me just put that out there. It happens. It's weird. It doesn't affect the rest of the show. They never bring it up or really talk about it again, to its detriment, I suppose, or like to just proving that it was just literally a superficial change that somebody made the choice to make, didn't think it through for more than a second, and was just like, this is fine. So, yeah, I mean, it is what it is, It
is what it is. I really hope that future comic book adapters learn from this and don't do, like, there is actually, like I said, I understand that you want to have a different villainy cast, you want to do XX and all that, but think of the ramifications for people watching this. Like, for example, this is a show that has prominent African Americans, Black people. And we watch it, and yes, there's some truth to it. As a Black person, there is some animosity towards people of the Jewish faith for years in urban cities, New York, et cetera. There's a whole 9-hour essay argument with that. But it does feel uncomfortable if a Jewish person watched this, or even a Black person watching it who's a fan of comics, is like, why that happened? What's going on here?
Yeah. Again, there might be a reason for it. There might have just been something in the background, somebody who decided this was a good choice. But yeah, I mean, again, it's a great show. It's a fantastic show. I still highly recommend watching it. It for me, it didn't really take away anything. But again, I am neither Jewish nor Black, and therefore, like, it doesn't directly affect me. I thought it was weird. I've had Jewish friends who said that they didn't like it. I had Jewish friends who said that they didn't care. It's all going to depend on where you're coming from it and how you experience the show. And if you liked the book, if you've ever read the book, and I highly recommend reading the book, by the way. It's not a comic book, it's just a book. It's a literature book, but it's a fantastic read. And if you don't want to do that, read the book then. Read the book. The book is fantastic. The book is basically exactly like the show, except words, and you can imagine things.
Yeah. And I guess that wraps up our final podcast of 2020. We learned a lot. We laughed a lot. And one thing we did learn is we all could be grateful for one thing. We're grateful that scumbags are out of the industry. And we're grateful that some people that were bad for a certain company are gone. Dan Didio, Depp. Hate that guy.
Goodbye, Dan Didio.
Goodbye. DC would have a chance to live on without you. And we're happy that people learning, diversity isn't a bad thing. It's cool to have them in comics. Cool,
And and hopefully we'll see more of that in 2021.
Yeah. Into the Spider-Verse 2 should have been happening, but you know what? I'll let it rock for 2022.
It's okay. 2022. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay, Matt.
Yeah. All right. That is Sara and myself signing off. Thank you guys for checking us out, and we'll see you back next year.
Happy New Year, everyone.